Hey, what's up YouTube? Today I'm going to be doing a deck profile on Hazy Flames. Now these guys weren't too good before the ban list, but now that Heavy Storm's gone, I think these guys can really come back and win some tournaments. These guys are all level 6 monsters. So unless you're tributing, you have to rely on their spell card, Hazy Pillar, to get them out. So the deck can be a little inconsistent if you can't draw what you need, but I've been working on it for quite a few months now, and I think I've got a pretty good formula down for them. So here's the monsters. We've got the Hazy Flame Cerberus. Now this guy, he can be brought out without tribute, but his attack goes down to 1000, unfortunately. When he's destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can add one Hazy to your hand from your graveyard, or from your deck, rather. So if you get this first turn, that's not bad. If you don't get your pillar, because you can just have this suicide into another monster, and you can get your Hazy Pillar and set up for next turn. I run 3. Very important to have 3 of these. This deck also focuses around rekindling and getting a lot of monsters out on the field at one time. Rekindling works with the 200 defense or less monsters, so that's why you definitely want 3. The next monster is the Hazy Flame Periton. This guy, also great, run 3. He can be summoned, and then you can tribute another fire monster from your hand and send him to the graveyard, both of those monsters to the graveyard, and you can summon 2 Hazy Flame monsters from your deck, which can be good to get out, get an easy exceed out. Also, as I forgot to mention, none of the Hazy Flame monsters can be targeted by card effects. Awesome. Next is the Hazy Flame Hippogriff. Can't be targeted by card effects. His effect isn't too good, but he does have the 200 defense there, which makes him good as rekindling fodder. Also, you can bring him out with a Periton. You can tribute one other fire monster, and this card gains 300 attack. It's not too good. It makes him a 2400, but again, I really throw him in here for the rekindling fodder. I run 2. Sphinx and Periton are really your 2 best cards, especially for swarming the field and getting their exceed out, which I'll show you in a bit. The Hazy Flame Sphinx, you can call a card type, such as Monster, Spell, or Trap, and mill a card from the top of your deck to the graveyard. If you call it right, then you can summon one Hazy Flame card from or one fire monster from your hand or graveyard. So you could bring out a Periton if you wanted to, and then you could potentially have 3 monsters out in one turn. So I run 3 of these guys. It is a little bit of guesswork, but if you get to learn, what cards you've already used, you can get a pretty educated guess on what's at the top of your deck. The next is I run 3 of the Sphinx. Next is the Hazy Flame Griffin. I run one of these guys because he's not too great, but he is good if you can't run, or if you can't draw into the Hazy Pillar that allows you to summon these. He can be summoned to your side of the field. If you have only fire monsters in your graveyard and your opponent controls a monster, and I only run 1 card that's not a fire monster. So he's good for first turn, especially if you go second. He's got the 2100 defense, so he can be a little bit difficult to get over. Plus you can exceed with him. And it's a special summon, won't take up your normal summon. Works pretty nicely in there, actually. And that's it for the Hazy Flame monsters. Then I have a few other monsters in here. There's a Lava Lancelord. I use this with the card Molten Conduction Field. You can send 2 lava monsters from your deck to the graveyard. Notice the 200 defense, so that's 2 free monsters if you can draw into a rekindling. His effect really, It's nothing you'd use unless you get some of your cards banished. You can also normal summon this without tributing, which is really nice too. And he's level 6 fire, so he fits with the theme. Next, I have the Flamvell Fire Dog. If he destroys a monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can special summon one fire monster with 200 or less defense from your deck. So that is pretty much a lot of the Hazy Flames, excluding Griffin, Periton, and Sphinx. So you can get a Cerberus out, or a Hippogriff even. You could use a Hippogriff to tribute this if you wanted to. Also, you know, he's level 4, so you can't... I don't run any level 4 Exceeds in here. But I run 3. I'm using a Flamvell Baby as a placeholder right now. But this is also a great thing to get first turn, especially if you can overcome a monster by battle. Next is one of my favorite combos for the deck is the Heretic Dragon of Tefnuit. It works kind of the same way the Griffin does, where you can special summon it from your hand if they control monsters and you don't. If this is tributed, you can special summon one Dragon-type normal monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard. I use Tyhone number 2, level 6 fire. So you can work with the Hazy Flame Exceed that I'll show you in a moment. So, since being that all the Hazy Flames need a tribute to go out, it's very easy to just pop him, and you can get 2 out in 1. Next we have the spells. We've got Hazy Pillar. Now this is the card you want to see. It's really how you get your Hazies out on the field, and with Heavy Storm gone, that's just why I believe the deck was coming back, because Heavy Storm can really mess you up. So can MST, but now that Heavy Storm's gone, it's just one less thing you have to worry about. You can normal summon Hazy Flame monsters for 1 less tribute. You can also attach Hazy Flame monsters from your deck or your side of the field to existing XYZ monsters. Very helpful. I run 3. Definitely run 3. You want this card in your hand as quick as possible. Next, Rekindling. You really need this as well, especially for the Exceeds. You want to run 3. You can get out most of the monsters that Hazy Flame runs with this, including the Lava Lancelord and the Flamvell Fire Dog, to make some really powerful Exceeds. 2 Potter Dualities. I run these for a little bit of draw power to get my Hazy Pillar as quick as possible. Molten Conduction Field, which I touched upon before, to get those lavels to the graveyard to combo with Rekindling. Dark Hole and 2 MST. You know, every deck should really have these cards. And then we've got Circle of the Fire Kings. Really not bad to get out a Sphinx if you need it. If you can't summon it directly, you could tribute a Fire Dog and get a Sphinx this way. Hazy Flame Periton cannot be targeted by anything that's not a Hazy Flame card. So you actually can't get a Periton out with this, which is kind of unfortunate. But it's definitely good for getting the Sphinx out. I run 2. And then I have a Salamandra in here. I'm just using it as a placeholder, really. It's helped me out, actually. It's won me a game before, but since the ban list, I haven't really figured out what I should put in place of this. I believe this went in place of my Heavy Storm. Onto the traps. We've got Hazy Glory. This works the same way as Hazy Pillar, except in trap form. You can also send it to the graveyard to add 1 Hazy card in your graveyard, except for Hazy Glory, and add it to your hand. That's helpful. I only run 2 just because it's not quite as helpful as Hazy Pillar, because you do have to set it a turn. Magic Cylinder, Torrential Tribute, and Solemn Warning. You know why they're good. And for the extra deck, there's really not a whole lot in terms of level 6 Exceed monsters, but Hazy Flames actually get their own. It's the Hazy Flame Basilitress. this card, you can have up to 5 level 6 fire monsters, just 2 or more, up to 5, and once per turn you can detach one XYZ material from this card to target one monster your opponent controls or is in their graveyard, and you can banish it. So that's a nice Dragosack you got there, and you can just banish it. Also with Hazy Pillar, you can just reattach materials to it. And he gets better the more you have. This is why Rekindling is really good. If you can get 5 monsters out by Rekindling, he gets quite a few effects. He can't be targeted or destroyed by card effects, and he becomes a 3500 if he has 5. So 3 or more, he gains 200 attack and defense for each XYZ material attached. 4 or more, he can't be targeted by opponent's card effects, and 5, he cannot be destroyed by card effects. So unless you're banishing it or destroying it by battle, it's pretty hard to get around, especially if you can get it out at 5, and this is what wins games, at 5. The Hazy Pillar allows you to reattach, so you can still use its effect to banish, and then you can just reattach so you can get its protection. It's a really, really good card. Then you have your Photon Strike Bouncer. I'd like to run more of these. Negate monster effects, and deal 1,000 damage. That's always good to burn him down a little bit. Plus he's a 2700 and only takes 2 level 6s. Extremely easy to pull off in this deck, and really effective in stopping your opponent from starting combos. And then there's a Gauntlet Launcher. I don't really particularly use this. I have it in here in case they have a card that prevents you from banishing, because that would really shut down your Basilisk. And the Gauntlet Launcher basically does the same thing, except it destroys it. Now, these guys, again, like I said, were really not so well in the last format. They did okay. I did pretty good at some locals with them, but they just weren't good. They weren't consistent, because anytime you'd get a Hazy Pillar, it would just get destroyed. But now that Heavy Storm's gone, I think they can really come back and be a very good deck. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe to me for more Yu-Gi-Oh related videos. I'm going to try to do some box openings, pack openings, and definitely more deck profiles of what I run. If you have any suggestions or anything that can make this deck better, please leave them in the comment field. Have a good night.